So the last thing that we really need to cover before the worksheet that you're going to have to do on Tuesday is how to do these even quicker. These are true for the 83, 84, as well as that 36X Pro. If you have that smaller calculator, the 30X Pro, this is when you're finally going to find out that it doesn't do stat stuff. This is where it fails you. It doesn't have these distributions in it. So this is that moment when you may want to just spend the 20 bucks and get that 36X. So that formula we were using can all be done in one calculator shortcut, which is called Binome Pdf. The P is for one probability. P is equal to probability by itself. So I always think of this as a point, just one point. We can also do what we call a cumulative probability. That's what the C is for. C is for cumulative. And what this Binomcdf does is if you look at that little list I had before, 0, 1, 2, all the way up to some number k, if x is less than or equal to k, that means all of this stuff, it adds them all up for you. So if you wanted to do like that last question, this Binomcdf is really awesome because it does a lot of adding for you instead of you having to do the adding. So we're going to try out these 3 questions we previously did using the Binome Pdf and Binomcdf buttons. So Binome Pdf is what we want to use whenever we have just that exactly question. We just want the probability x is equal to 6. In order to do this in the calculator, we're going to use Binome Pdf. The n is still the 15 Americans. Our probability of success is still that 75%. And the k is still the thing that we're looking for. So in this case, R6. All right, so all we need to do is figure out what the heck this means in our calculator. So going into the calculator, first off, where does Binome Pdf live? So I'm going to turn back on my stat wizard for a moment so that those of you with the stats wizard will see, and then I'll show you the way to do this without the stats wizard. So the binomial distribution is here in this distri section where the distributions live. It's right above vars, but it's in blue, so we need to press the second button, and then we need to press the vars button to get to distributions. And then it's actually pretty far down. It's numbers, or I think it's A and B, and we're going to choose Binome Pdf. If you have a calculator with the stats wizard or the 36X Pro, this is what you're going to see. It's going to say, what's the number of trials? Well, we had 15 people. What's our P, our probability of success? Well, that was 0.75. You do need to enter this as a decimal. And what's the X? What's the thing we're actually looking for? We wanted to find out 6 people. And if you paste this, it tells you 0.0034. All the work is done. No need to use the NCR button. Life is really, 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 really easy. Now, if you don't have the stats wizard, you just need to put it in exactly like I wrote it on the last page. So when you go over to your distribution section by pressing second in bars and you choose Binome Pdf, it doesn't give you that little helper menu. You have to write 15, use your comma button, 0.75, use your comma button, 6. The very good thing about this is if you put these in the wrong order, your calculator is going to spit out an error. It's impossible to get the wrong answer. You're either going to get an error if you put them in incorrectly. So same thing as what you get with the stats wizard. You just have to remember the order of things. But again, if you type it in wrong, you'll know immediately. So there's our 0.0034 we had before. All right, probability that at least 14, if we recall, 0, 1, 2, all the way up to 14 and 15. What we were interested in was 14 and 15, right? So you have 2 methods here. We have Binome Pdf. We could do Binome Pdf for 14 and Binome Pdf for 15 and add them together. But I want us to get used to using CDF because anytime we're not looking for exactly one outcome, CDF is going to be the quicker of the 2. So you could do Binome Pdf of these and add them together, but we're going to change this up and try out the other method. So whenever you're using CDF, CDF starts at 0 and adds up to a number. So right here, CDF is not doing what we want. We want the right side of this little table I made, not the left side, which is what CDF does. So in order to overcome that, we're going to do 1 minus. Because if we can figure out this, well, this is the opposite piece, right? So this side ends at 13. So if you were to use Binomcdf here, you'd want your Binomcdf, it's still n, it's still p, you'd want your Binomcdf to go up to 13 because that's the last number on that left side. That's going to give you the exact same thing as doing PDF of 14 plus PDF of 15. So I'm going to show you both the PDF and CDF version in the calculator. So if I go back to my calculator here, I could have done, and this is really important by the way guys, if you're using PDF or even if you're using CDF, one of the most helpful things to know is that if you press second and then the enter key, it brings back whatever you last typed. So if I wanted to use PDF again, I could do PDF of 14, and then I could do, oh, let me get another PDF. Let's change it to 15. So now I have my PDF of 14 and my PDF of 15 on the actual screen, and I can just add those together, rounding to those 3 decimal points that you know I like, and get back out that 0.0802. But if I want to do the CDF version, I need to go back to the distribution menu, and I need to grab Binomcdf instead of Binome Pdf. So Binomcdf, still 15, still 0.75, and in this case, remember, we only wanted to go up to 13, because that's the end of this other side. So we're going to go to 13. 13. If I press enter, that gives me the whole left side, but I wanted the right side. So if I do 1 minus that answer, I got that by doing second and then the negative sign, I get the same thing, 0.0802. So it's just 2 different methods to get the exact same thing. I also could have done 1 minus and then got Binomcdf, but I like to do this because then I can use my second enter to do all my questions. So still 0.0802. And then our last one, the probability of not all. This is where it really comes in handy to have the CDF, because not all was everything up to 15, which we ended up doing as the complement previously when we only had PDF for the formula. But now this is exactly what we're looking for. That's exactly what CDF does, right? So we were able to just use Binomcdf, no weird 1 minus. It's set up perfectly for Binomcdf, 15.75, and we ended at 14. So that will add up from 0 to 14, and while that's not efficient for me to do, the calculator's doing it, life is good. So if I go to my calculator, I'm actually going to just do second enter twice because I don't want to go get it again, which I can keep going back through the stuff I did. If I change this to a 14, that gives us out that 0.9866 that we had before, that 0.9866. So the hardest thing about this for students is translating and making sure they're doing the right probabilities. It's not the rest of it. The using the calculator is fine with them. It's the making sure we have the right one. So I was going to show you in your Blackboard site, I actually put up this thing I called a binomial cheat sheet. So if you go to this binomial cheat sheet, if it ever loads, hopefully it'll load. This is in the Part 5 menu, by the way. If you go here, I've told you basically all of the directional ways that I can say something. I've given you that visual on the cute little table, the notation, and then the calculator shortcut. So you can see when we need to do 1 minus, when we don't go all the way up to what we were to the actual number, when we go 1 less. So I have this cheat sheet up there. This is a good thing to consider putting on your note card, though normally on the test I only put 1 or 2 binomial questions. So it's not worth necessarily the amount of space, but this is going to be really helpful when we do our worksheet in class on Tuesday.